Chapter 12. Peter. She held out the keys for me to take them, but I shook my head and headed to the passenger seat. I didn't want her to know that I couldn't drive. She cried and squealed for the whole drive into town, and I seriously feared for my safety. I tried to hide the fact that I was hanging on to the door for dear life. Her breathing was irregular, and her body couldn't stay still. She was in no mental state to drive. It had been so long since I rode in a car that the sensations were unfamiliar, making the whole situation even worse. But her euphoria kept me from chastising her. Her eyes held hope, and I wouldn't dare extinguish that, not for all the money in the world. "Thanks for coming," she said as she put the car in park in front of a dingy apartment complex. "I'm not sure how much time he'll give me, and it would have been hard to carry everything alone with my arm." "Of course. Tell me what you need me to do, and I'll do it," I offered. It felt so good not to be in motion anymore. "Don't turn into a wolf and kill my landlord," she half-joked. "It isn't his fault I'm in this situation. He's just a guy trying to make payments like the rest of us." I smiled but answered seriously, "I won't, Brooke. You don't have to worry about that." I let her take the lead as we winded down a dim hallway to a random door. A man met us there, walking from the other direction. I didn't feel the urge to kill him like I had the men last night, so we were off to a good start. "Is your mom coming?" he asked Brooke as he unlocked the door for us. The lock was new and shiny, making it stand out against everything else in the place that was not. She shook her head no. "Millie should be home soon, though." "I'll give you 30 minutes, he said. "If you aren't out of here by 4:30, I'll have to call the police to report you girls for trespassing. You can't get in there, lock the door, and squat in the apartment." She sighed and rolled her eyes. "We won't, Mr. Potts. We have a place to go. Peter is here to help me get our things." He looked at me briefly, then opened the door. He walked away sadly, and I could sense that he really didn't want to kick the girls out. I was thankful he didn't stay to watch us. Brooke looked at me with pain and overwhelm in her eyes. "What do I need to bring?" As I scanned the apartment, I wasn't sure why Brooke offered to clean Mr. Atkins' house. She didn't seem very good at it. The place might have been even worse off than his. A light tap on the open door made me whirl around, and a smaller version of Brooke stood there in a ponytail with a bag draped over one shoulder. Brooke crossed the space between them and suffocated her in a hug. "It's going to be okay, Millie. I found us a place to stay. I'm going to clean someone's house in exchange for a room for us. This is Peter, and he's going to help us move our stuff. I have a car borrowed outside to pack it all in." Millie frowned as she took all of this in. "Are we cleaning your house?" she asked me. I smiled, trying not to seem threatening. "No, I'm only here to carry stuff." "You look familiar," she said, squinting her eyes at me. "Are you the guy from the market? The creepy one who sells fish?" "Millie!" Brooke exclaimed, her hand flying to her mouth in shock. I laughed. I didn't threaten this girl in the least. "Yes, that's me." "We ate some the other night at Beatrice's house," she explained. "It was good. I was with her and her mom when she bought it." "Thank you," I said, certain there was a compliment in there somewhere. "You're welcome," she said, turning back to Brooke. "So what's the deal? What are we bringing with us? I assume we can't bring Mom and Gran stuff, too." Brooke looked at me, her earlier question still echoing in her eyes. "Do you have trash bags?" I asked. She went to the kitchen to grab them. I was relieved to see she held a huge roll of them when she returned. "Use these for your clothes," I explained. "Get 7 shirts, all short-sleeved, and 3 sweaters to layer over them when it gets colder. Get 1 light jacket and 1 heavy one. 2 pairs of shoes that can be worn in the heat or cold." "Wait," Millie interrupted. "Should I write all of this down?" "It'll take too much time," Brooke said. "We only have until 4:30 before Mr. Potts makes us leave. Just tell us a couple of things at a time." Each girl grabbed a bag and raced to their bedroom. They were incredibly efficient and decisive, and I worked through my mental list in my head of everything they needed to bring. When they were filling their next bag of things, I packed the stuffed ones in the car. "It's 4:25, I warned them. "Is there anything else you think you need?" Brooke shook her head. She was panting, but there was a look of triumph on her face. "What about things you want?" I asked. "Is there anything here you want to keep? He may donate everything we leave. Pack a bag with anything unnecessary you don't want to lose." Both girls raced to a back bedroom and came out with a full bag. "This is all," Brooke said. "We're ready to go." True to his word, the landlord was headed in our direction as we walked out. I lifted my chin to greet him as we victoriously left with everything they needed. I had stuffed the trunk to the point of explosion and put bags in the floorboards of the back seats as well. There should still be enough room for food in the back seat, I told Brooke as I opened the passenger door for Millie. "When you get to Mr. Atkins' house, unpack anything that needs to be kept cold and any of your things that you immediately need. I'll be there later tonight to help you unpack the rest." She looked around, confused. What do you mean? You aren't coming with us? I shook my head. You needed the space I was taking up in the car. I'm used to walking everywhere anyway. Her throat made a whiny noise. How am I supposed to know what to buy at the store? What if I mess it up? I smiled and grabbed her hand. You know what to buy. Food you can store in a pantry or freezer. Lots of beans and peanut butter. So if it has to be in a fridge, reconsider it. So, canned things. I laughed and shook my head. No, Brooke. You can buy fresh fruits and vegetables, but you'll need to freeze them. You can buy meat and freeze it. Most things can be preserved for at least a little while. When you're buying something, think about how long it would be good if you didn't eat it right away. If the answer isn't more than 2 weeks, find a way to preserve it so it would. She nodded and squeezed my hand. You'll be there later? Yes. Do you promise? I grinned. I promise, Brooke. I'll help you unload the car when I get there tonight. She gasped. Oh no, you lost a whole day of work because of me. It was worth it, I assured her. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I squeezed her hand and stepped back. She waved slightly and got back behind the wheel to get groceries with Millie. Millie smiled and waved goodbye to me. I could understand Brooke's desire to protect Millie. She was definitely someone worth protecting. Both of the girls were. I didn't understand why their mom couldn't see it. I was about to head for the woods when a sickly-looking woman bumped into me. Sorry, she muttered, heading into the complex with shaky legs. She looked vaguely familiar. Could she be the girl's mom? I told the girls 4 o'clock. They've already been here and left with their things, the landlord told her in the hallway. His voice possessed none of the warmth and patience that he had shown with Brooke and Millie. Where did they go? She asked. Her voice was small and timid like a mouse, definitely nothing like Brooke or Millie. He shrugged. I didn't ask. It wasn't my business. Let me get my things too, she pleaded. It won't take 10 minutes. Why weren't you here at 4 with them? He asked as he crossed his arms. I didn't know about it, she pleaded. I promised I had no idea we were supposed to get our stuff then. Even though all I wanted to do was turn around and keep walking, I felt like I needed to intervene for Brooke's sake. There you are, I said, making myself known to them both. I looked at the landlord and sighed. I'm glad you're still here to let her in. We were afraid we wouldn't be able to tell her in time. My face and body held the same stoic nature they always did, but I was cringing on the inside. Talking was hard enough. Lying was so new for me that I knew I had to be doing it wrong. Where are the girls? The man asked, peeking around me. They already took off, but I'll help her get anything she needs if you give us 10 minutes. I raised my eyebrow and held his gaze, giving him no room to disagree. When you don't overuse words, the ones that you let out wield much more power. He huffed and took his keys out to open the door and left us again. 10 minutes, he yelled at us with his back turned. I didn't know why he was acting so inconvenienced. Everything we got out was something else he didn't have to take care of later. You know the girls? The woman asked me. I nodded. What are their names? She asked, challenging me. Her eyes were slightly squinted. I admired her cleverness and chose to adopt it. The youngest is Millie. Do you know the name of the oldest? She smiled slightly. Brooke. Do you know where they went? I stood like a stone, unsure if I was allowed to divulge that information. I couldn't betray Brooke. She recognized my hesitation. I get it. Are they safe? Can you let me know if they're safe? Yes, they're safe, I assured her. They found a place to stay. With you? She cried. I shook my head. No, not with me. I wish that I had a house I could offer them. She let out an exhausted breath. Thanks for helping me get in here, but you don't need to help me move anything. I'm only getting a couple changes of clothes and heading back to the shelter. Are you sure? I asked, though I was relieved. I didn't want her pushing me for more information that I didn't know if I was allowed to give. Yes, she assured me. I don't need to leave here with anything I can't carry on my own. I understood that concept and turned to leave. What can I do to show them I'm sorry? She asked as I walked away. I stopped in the dim hallway. What do you mean? Brooke said that saying I'm sorry isn't enough, that I have to show it. What can I do to show it? How do you show something like that? I turned slowly to face her. It was unsettling being asked for advice, especially about how to handle a social interaction, but I still knew exactly what to say. You should have taken her place, I stated. She was truly confused. What do you mean? At the shelter, I explained. When they kicked her out, you should have taken her place. Her face went slack as realization hit her. That's the first thing I thought of when Brooke told me she got in an argument with you and was escorted outside. I thought, why didn't the mother stand up and demand that Brooke stay, and she be the one to leave instead? How did she sit there in the refuge of the shelter while her daughter was thrown out on the street, knowing she had nowhere to go? How did she sleep last night? Her face was white, ashen, and I feared she was about to pass out on the filthy carpet. I didn't think of it, she admitted. The words came out breathy and broken, like she was having trouble breathing through her grief. I shrugged. It's in the past. There's nothing you can do about it now. But if you want to show her, that's how you do it. You put her before yourself. What if I can't do it? She sobbed. What if the situation comes up again and I don't realize it, like at the shelter? What if all of my motherly instincts are gone? Dead? It doesn't have to be an instinct. It can be a choice. It may even go against your instincts. With that, I left her alone to go help the girls.